Stuart almost said something nice.
Well,
Like, almost. He was almost there.
I've had a bad week, so we won't go there.
That's alright. We'll give you huggies.
Hey, we're talking about the Justice League Snyder Cut. Up next on Geek Out SA.
Do not attempt to adjust your YouTube video. We control the stream.
And welcome back to Geek Out SA. It's Friday and we're having fun. I have no shadow on my forehead.
I like how we're like having these last minute conversations in our tiny intro. What happened to that? Wait, what did that do? Oh, and we're on! I mean, if people could see you for like the couple of minutes that it is between your little intro and here, we have, quite the debacle conversations.
What'd I do with that?
Too late.
Too late.
We're
It's time to
live.
go.
We're
It's
live.
7. But today we're talking about the Justice League Snyder's Cut,
Woo!
which is...
Which at first, though, everybody was like, "Oh, it's 4 hours." Oh gosh, 4 hours, right? No, it's like you don't even notice.
Yeah, no.
You don't even.
Well,
notice.
yeah, you notice because you have to like pause it and like
Go tinkle.
go to bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
take a little break.
But that's kind of the thing. If it's a 4-hour movie, you need some type of intermission.
Well, and we used
like
to
how long was JFK? JFK was a long movie, but they didn't do an intermission on that one, did they?
I don't know about that one, but I know we used to have movies. Okay, well, not we, because you and I are not. I've seen movies that were made like in the 50s and the 60s, and they were 4 hours, and they had intermissions.
Mm-hmm.
So, didn't The Sound of Music even have an intermission?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Most movies did have intermissions, and it was simply because they come onto reels of film, so they have to change the second reel of film. So that's why you go to the popcorn halfway through the movie. It wasn't because it was a great spot to stop. No, they had to change the film.
So we finally decided to watch the Snyder Cut, and I tell you,
like
two different movies, two completely
dark
different movies.
But that was how we felt about Batman versus Superman as well.
Yeah. Well,
so much more gets explained.
More gets explained, but it wasn't two different movies. This was two different movies.
I didn't feel like it was two different movies. I just felt like it was the movie that we really wanted, that gave us all the insights that we really wanted. The insights were there, but they were just
the stuff that
off.
happened. The stuff that happened in the original did not happen in the new one.
Well, so I know that they took out some of what Joss Whedon had done, and that is because obviously this was Zach's movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when he got to recut it, he just wanted it to be his stuff, right?
Right.
And we all know that Joss is like apparently a very bad person, which is a shame because I really like a bunch of his stuff, so that kind of stinks.
Yeah.
But one of the scenes that they did cut.
Maybe that's why his stuff doesn't last.
And maybe because people can't stand to work with him.
Yeah.
And so he gets canceled. That makes sense. But one of the scenes that I missed that he did that I actually thought was kind of impactful to the movie and I kind of missed, was the only thing that I missed in this 4-hour epic, was Batman telling the Flash, just save one. And if you can just save one, and if you can just save one more, and if you can just save one more, and so that kind of becomes Flash's mantra as he's taking people out. So I missed that part. That was one of the best scenes I thought in the first rendition. Mm-hmm. Was him just saying, because I feel like that's part of the hero's journey, right? And I guess because I'm an educator, that feels like part of an educator journey too, right? If you can just help one, if you can just save one, you maybe you can't save them all, and you want to, and you try to, but if there could just be one. So that was the only thing that I felt like I was
feel
really
like
missing.
That's come up in a movie before, of that thing would just save one, mm-hmm. And I forget what movie it was in, but I would think it's been in a couple.
I mean, I'm sure it has. Sorry. I had my second dose of the COVID shot, and I've been really tired today.
So we get to see characters that we didn't see before.
Well, so that's the super plus side. So I didn't know if you wanted to go to the plus side yet or not. If there was any like downfalls that you thought between, like anything that you felt was missing, or
Well, but we see some of the new stuff like at the beginning is the thing.
Well, the thing about the 4-hour epic that we were really missing in.
But when you're saying that, it was a 4-hour epic, but they did break it up.
In a way.
Into chapters because
chapters,
they did have
break
the
it into
chapters,
which was good.
Yeah.
But you get to see. First of all, you get to see Bruce trying to bring the group together, and at this point, people who are complaining about Ben Affleck being Batman and Bruce Wayne should really take a look at this movie.
Yeah, because this was what it was meant to be. The Snyder Cut was meant it was gonna kick off the entire universe. When I saw this movie, I was just like, well, you could do this, and then you could do this, and they talked about this, and you're like, well, that would have rebooted everything for the whole.
And you get a good chunk of the movie is Bruce's journey, and then bringing Diana in with him, and their journey to bring these people together who weren't together before.
And in the first one, it was more like, hey, do you want to join my team? But this one was way more impactful. There was way more Cyborg in this one.
Oh yeah, well we're gonna get to that in a minute. Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's the thing. So that's what I was gonna say.
So, but before we get to that, I loved a lot of the stuff, but I want to kind of mention the stuff that I didn't like.
Oh, I thought we were done with that. I asked you that a minute ago, and you skipped. You were like, "No, I loved it all."
No. I love the movie. I love the movie. There were some parts in there where I was kind of questioning why they selected some of the music that they selected.
Oh, child.
Like if I don't have a clip of this right now, but it was, I think the most memorable one, it was the King when they were showing Aquaman, and I was like, what? This doesn't fit the scene whatsoever. I mean, it fits it in the words, but it doesn't fit it in tone at all.
No, and I thought that. So Vincent doesn't like for anybody to talk during his movies, right? That's like a rule. You don't talk during Vincent's movies. But it was agitating me so much that I finally had to say something out loud because I couldn't keep it to myself anymore. And I'm like, seriously? Are they going to keep it up with this music? Because it was like every time we got to see one of the heroes go and like see who they kind of were. And then there was this weird, like, I don't even know how to explain it because it wasn't like, it was kind of like a mopey, but it wasn't like a Daft Punk, but it wasn't like emo, but it was kind of like, what do you call that? Not band music, like techno kind of. Like, I don't know. It was a weird mashup of music that was kind of like depressing. Yeah. And it wasn't like empowering. Like, I felt like you should be empowered.
But here's the thing, he probably didn't have the money.
He had no more budget left.
No more budget to do what he wanted to do. He could have had better music.
I feel like he could have gone to some free source music on the internet.
Well, maybe some of that stuff was free source music.
Maybe. But it wasn't good. Like, that's, you know, it did throw me off in a few places.
But when you're watching it, you get to kind of see is like, oh, this is actually happening before Aquaman, the Aquaman movie goes off, but you kind of see that helps you understand what he kind of went through as Aquaman in the movie, and it explains it at the beginning, even though Willem Dafoe looked completely different.
Did he?
Yeah, he had long hair. in the Justice League.
I thought he had long hair in Aquaman.
Not like he did in the Justice League. It was a different hairdo.
Really?
Yeah,
Looked
completely.
the same to me.
Mm-mm. In Aquaman, his hair was very slick back.
I don't remember that. We'll have to watch them all again. But I think that was one of the nice things about watching Bruce go to all of these different characters is you get to meet all the different characters, right? So it was almost like having little mini movies within a movie, right? It was like, okay, I get to go to the little Aquaman movie for a little bit. I get to go to the Cyborg movie for a little bit, and I get to see some like background. And for Aquaman, you didn't see the background, but you heard it. They talk about it, right? So it's like, if you haven't seen the other movies, I'm getting some of that in this epic, right? So I'm getting some of that background. I'm getting where they come from. I'm getting why they might say yes, why they might say no. Sorry. I'm so bad.
That, but let's talk about the baddies, the bad guys. So we have Steppenwolf, which looks a ton better than he did in the original. But we get more than that. We get Darkseid. We didn't have that in the original. And that kind of because Darkseid isn't he the one that actually kills Superman? Is that right? I thought he did it.
Doomsday.
It was Doomsday
that killed Superman. Yeah.
But Darkseid was a big part of the Justice League battling Darkseid.
Well, he's one of their like constant. Like he's someone they battle constantly over the course of the series in different comics when they.
Well, he's kind of the Thanos character in the
right.
DC
He's
world.
kind of the Thanos of DC. Yeah. But I thought he was done really well. I don't remember, and I need to go back and watch the original one. Because I don't remember, you kept saying, oh, Steppenwolf looks so different, Steppenwolf looks so different, and I'm like, I don't remember the way he looked.
Yeah, it's completely different.
It's completely different. His like,
I don't even remember the way he
the
looked.
armor alone.
Well, his armor's real dynamic in this one. His armor like moves and adjusts to different things, and we see a lot more of the interaction between him and the different characters because he's trying to get the box from the different characters.
Yeah, and the way he was taken down was really weak in the original compared to the way he was taken down in this version.
Yeah, well, that's like a whole cinematic event in and of itself. Is them like taking him down and then tossing his head. You know, I thought tossing his head was like. It crossed that line, and I think DC characters do that sometimes a little bit more than Marvel characters do, is they cross that line between, like, I'm a superhero and I'm gonna, like, make the bad guys go to prison or whatever, versus I'm gonna kill them, but every once in a while, because DC tends to be a little bit darker and everything,
a little bit edgier, yeah.
The DC characters cross the line, so in this one, it's like, here's Steppenwolf's head, let me chunk it through the portal at Darkseid. And then you're like, oh dang, no they didn't just do that. and then look at him like, now what are you gonna do? Like So it was pretty cool. Yeah. And that's the one scene where you really get to see them realize that together they're stronger. Like Bruce keeps saying it throughout the movie, and so you know eventually it's coming, right? You know eventually they're gonna have to do it because we all understand the movie
because foreshadowing
and foreshadowing and right. So he keeps pushing this. We're stronger together. We're stronger together, and they're like, yeah, whatever. I'm a superhero, right? And so then in that final epic battle, you see that they each need each other in different ways, and then if they come together as a whole. Listening to each other, then
that wasn't translated as well in the original.
No, I didn't think so. So I thought that message was very much clearer in this because he had more time to develop that message, and we had more time to see it because he shows us close-up of these characters working together. He shows us close-ups of these characters working together. He shows us close-ups of these characters working together.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in a way he's kind of like shoving it down people's throats, but not people don't always get subtleties. So
Yeah.
it's just like, and they're working together, and you see how they're a team, and does everybody get that they're a team? Watch, they're a team. You see what happens? So it was a little bit of that, but it wasn't so bad that I didn't enjoy it. Because I don't always enjoy things in movies where it's like really blatantly in your face. I like to kind of read kind of my own stuff into it because I always think that my ideas are better than everybody else's. But anyway, and so, but I thought it was good the way he did it.
But here's the thing: I think it had to be a 4-hour movie. It had to be. You couldn't have done it in 2 hours. There's no way.
One of the things that was
unless you broke it up into like 2 movies
that required it to be a 4-hour movie was that character development. So there was a lot of complaints when the first one came out about Cyborg not getting any kind of character development in any kind of time. And it was kind of weak, what we saw about Cyborg. And it makes Cyborg kind of look like a whiny baby in the first one. I'm not going to lie. Like in the first one I was like,
yeah,
why,
it does.
Why is Cyborg coming across like as a whiny baby in this first one? Like, it's not cool. I didn't like it. So in this 4-hour one, we really get to see, because I don't even think I understood as well in the first one that he's powered by the box, by one of the boxes, that he's part of that unity in a way. So I don't think we get that from the first movie.
No, because we got that it was part of Kryptonian technology.
Right.
In the first one.
Right. So we don't get that. So that doesn't translate very well in the first movie. And yet in this movie, we get to see a lot of that he's the unity, that he's part of that, what he's powered, what he's capable of. We see that he was a kind person before.
Yeah.
And that I think you understand his turmoil more. Like, he seemed kind of mopey in the first movie because you don't get to see this turmoil of his dad's not there. It's just him and his mom most of the time. Then his mom is dead. Basically, he's dead. He becomes Frankenstein's monster, which you really get that feeling of that Frankenstein's monster in this realm.
Yeah.
And you're like, ooh, oh, that makes sense. So now I'm getting more of a feeling of why he's like this and what all he can see and hear and understand. You get more of where that data, I didn't realize he's getting all that data all the time, right? And so it's like when you learn about Clark's story, Superman's story, when he's little, right? And you see how Clark can hear all of these things and he's got the x-rays and everything's coming at him, and as a child he gets to kind of grow into that and learn, right? And he struggles with it. Well, here's Cyborg, who is hearing all of this constantly, and then how do you know who to help, and how do you know who to stop, and what can you do and what can you not do, and then you go out in the world and you're a freak and everybody's like staring at you and afraid of you. And so I think he definitely got the journey that he deserved in this movie.
Right.
What did you think?
Yeah, well, it was definitely a lot more than last time. Could it have been more? Yeah, but he didn't finish the movie. He wasn't able to reshoot anything because he left early, and Joss took over for it. And I don't know, when you kind of look at and put them side by side, Joss Whedon destroyed that movie.
Yeah, it was totally chopped, hacked.
He's like, let me make this better.
Yeah.
Like,
and
no.
I'm sure the time constraints didn't help. Like, the time constraints just must not have helped this movie. I don't know if Zach intended it to be 2 movies to begin with. Because he really could have done a whole movie of just the journey of them, like, kind of coming together and realizing that they've got to wake Clark up.
Yeah. Right?
And then kind of going through all of that. And then he could have even added more to the second part when, if we're just talking about Cyborg's character right now.
Yeah.
so when Cyborg, if you've seen the original but you haven't seen the 4-hour, you know that Cyborg has to pull the boxes apart, right? Well, he's part of that unity, so he's kind of in the midst of it, and we see for just a moment him inside of that and how it's kind of messing with his mind and his data. And I bet Zach would have done more with that, and we would have seen some more of that. We get a little bit of that glimpse, and again, we get a little turn of this is who Cyborg is when he, as his human part, right, is in there, and these are the people he loved, and this is who is going to make him the hero. You kind of see that hero's journey when he's in the Unity a little bit, and he's kind of fighting against all that. And then you see a little bit of his vulnerability because he asks Superman to come help him.
Yeah.
And I noticed in Zach's movie that they address Superman as Clark a lot. Did you notice that? They call him Clark.
Well, an interesting thing that's happening right now. Apparently, Superman is going to. The name is going to be Super Clark in the comics. I don't know why.
Oh, maybe just a spinoff or something?
I don't know.
Because I know after Zach's thing came out, there's been this whole, meme thing going around about how can anybody not know that Clark Kent is Superman? And then there's been all these things about, Robert Downey Jr. going to a con and, winning third prize, in a Robert Downey Jr. contest, look-alike contest, and, other actors that have gone out in public and not been recognized because they've had on glasses or a hat or something like that. So it's been this meme thing that's been going around actually this is a thing, you could put on some glasses and not get noticed. So I don't know why Super Clark. I hadn't heard that one.
I just saw that today, so I was like, what's that all about?
I don't know. But I know they call him Clark a lot, which I thought and maybe they do that because he's been dead and they're trying to reconnect with him.
Yeah.
Right? Because you really do get a good scene in this 4-hour movie of when he's resurrected and his Kryptonian technology telling them, no, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And then he gets resurrected and him kind of being out of sorts and not knowing who he is for a while. You get a really nice view of that, and then you get to see him with his mom and with Lois and him being Clark, I think.
Yeah.
I think we think of
Superman
side as...
I think where a lot of people hate it is where, but this is what Batman does anyway. He was underhanded, and in the first one he told Alfred to bring in the big guns to bring Lois Lane there.
Right.
But in this movie, Lois Lane was already there, seeing all of this happen.
Yeah.
And it was just a different take, which kind of changed the tone of what was happening.
Well, and we find out that Lois is integral, so there's going to be a lot of spoilers in this. So if you're watching this and you haven't seen the 4-hour, I'm getting ready to seriously spoil something for you. So if you need to pause, fast forward through this part or whatever, spoiler. Lois is the big gun, you said, and they refer to Lois as the big gun, even in this 4-hour epic. And then when we get to the end of this movie, we see that Clark turns because of Lois's death, because she wasn't saved, and now we have this new Justice League, kind of, with Bruce and the Joker, right? And Deathstroke?
With Deathstroke, yeah.
Yeah.
Deathstroke is
and I forgot who else. And they're trying to find Clark and kill Clark. So
we're talking about Clark when he gets resurrected and comes back and realizes who he is. We get to see him in his black Superman suit, which was awesome.
I didn't know what the significance
was. But
the
black suit in the comics didn't have a cape.
No.
No, it was capeless. And he had gauntlets on.
Oh, I don't know.
Silver gauntlets.
I don't remember reading any of the comics with him in the black suit.
And a mullet.
And a mullet. Yeah.
They really screwed that whole thing up. They could have done, how many movies could have they done off that and spin-offs and...
Oh, well, we haven't even talked about some of the spin-offs they could do. We'll get there in a couple of more minutes. I thought that the Flash was the one that they developed the best in the first movie, in the first rendition, in Joss's rendition. But again, we get to see him more in this new one.
But we don't get to really know anything about the Speed Force in the original. When we do in this new version, because the Flash on the CW is doing so phenomenally, and it's all about the Speed Force.
Right.
So to be able to see that in the movie, I was just like, oh, that's cool.
I think
but you kind of it kind of like goes and it would have kicked off the Flash movie that's coming up eventually, hopefully. But he goes back and he's able to time travel, and we get to see that in a movie. So I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, even when you've watched some of the animated stuff, and if you've read some of the comics, you know that Barry tends to be the comic relief, right? And so in the first movie, they kind of give you a glimpse of that. In the second one, we definitely get a big... So when they're bringing Clark back to life, they're still arguing amongst each other because the Kryptonian technology is like, y'all should not do this, and Bruce is like, let's do it, we gotta do it, right? We're gonna do it, y'all listen to me. And Cyborg's like, this is telling me no, man, you better stop, right? And Barry's like, what are we doing? Like, I'm ready with the electricity. And Barry's like, did y'all say go? I'm Barry. And he goes. And so Clark gets brought back kind of like inadvertently because Cyborg's like, don't do it. And Barry's like, too late.
And it happened less underhandedly.
It was kind of a funny, derpy,
yeah,
right? Because, I mean, we all know Bruce is underhanded, and Bruce has his own agendas, and he's pushing it, and he's kind of like, oh, Bruce Wayne, you're going to do what I say, right? And he's, like, always powering, especially these young kids that he's got, right? And then he's, like, intimidating them or whatever. And so you get to see that side of Bruce in that scene, right? Where Bruce is like that guy who he's going to push it to the limit. By goodness, he knows what needs to happen, and it's going to happen come hell or high water, right? And then you get to see, Derpy Barry, and he's like, Thur, I'm Barry. So that was really great. Like, I really enjoyed that. And they did.
But him coming back had nothing to do with that happening.
No.
Wait, he just, like, developed into two different Supermen.
No.
In the comics.
In the comics, yeah.
Yeah.
I did like that they kept in the scene that was, like, super funny, where they're all there talking to Commissioner Gordon, and everybody leaves, and Barry's the only one left behind, and he's like, so everybody's gone, that's a thing, that's kind of rude.
That's rude.
So Barry is very much the comic relief, and he's the newest, aside from Cyborg, he's the newest to his powers, right? So he's still kind of comic relief. And he and Aquaman kind of have what I would say is equivalent to the Marvel Universe, the kind of like Thor Hulk kind of thing. It's like, Aquaman's like all cool and everything, and he's like, I'm only going to tolerate you until I have to squash you because you're really annoying, right? So it's kind of like they have this really fun, and I think we've got to see more of that, those interactions.
But we also see the buddying around of Cyborg and the Flash too,
because they're the youngest, yeah. So they kind of are buddies.
In the original, I think they do a fist bump.
Yeah, maybe
they do more. Do more in this one. So I thought that was really good, but there was a lot of stuff in there that wasn't expected.
Well, one of the things I like is when Diana calls Bruce out. Because Bruce has been working on this technology, and he's got these gauntlets now that are like hers, and they like absorb energy and stuff, and like do all this stuff. And she's like, wonder what made you think of that? Like she's like giving it a hard time. So that's one of the things I liked about this too, is you get to see a lot of that attitude. You get to see a lot of those interactions, and then there's kind of like the old guard, right? So you kind of got like Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Batman, and kind of Superman, although Superman's kind of the outlier because they all have a reverence to Superman in a way, right? Where he's the key.
But
right?
you see that reverence about Superman way more than in the original.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean.
Like they say in the original, you say, oh yeah, he's a god and this and that, but you actually truly see why, and you see like it really affected everyone because when he died, everyone around the whole world felt it and knew that happened.
Yeah.
Because I think it was a scream.
Yeah.
That just kind
and
of like
kind of like bubbles out
around the whole
world.
world.
Yeah. And that was nice too because we do get that moment in this movie where I mean it impacts everything and then it brings us back to Themyscira and then we get to see the Amazons and we get to see the box starting to move and stuff like that and we get to see the Atlanteans hear and feel Superman's scream of death. Like we get to see how each of the different groups are impacted
and how they all
that.
came together to fight Darkseid long ago to fight Darkseid. And that's when we see one of the Green Lanterns.
So that was what shocked me. I didn't know that we were going to get some more of the characters that are in the DC universe than we had gotten the first time.
Yeah.
So to see the Green Lanterns in there and see, oh, well, they are going to
and
have
then
an
you see
integral
that
part.
and you see the Green Lantern die and then where does the ring go? And it like flies off.
Right.
It's just like, who's that going to?
Right. So you get to see that. So again, we were talking earlier in the show about things that could have could springboard off of this movie. So we could have had a new Green Lantern series.
Yeah.
Like a more epic. I love Ryan Reynolds, and I definitely think Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. Not so sure that he's Green Lantern. He wasn't horrible as Green Lantern. I didn't hate that movie. I thought he did a fairly decent job, but I could definitely see us getting a new kind of remastered version of that, and maybe a little bit darker because Ryan Reynolds is a little kind of goofy, and the Green Lantern is kind of no nonsense from what the vibe that I always get from him when I've read things. So that was one set of characters that I was like, oh, we really could have gotten like a jump off if they were going to let Zack Snyder keep going with this universe, right?
Yeah.
And then the other one that shocked me that I literally yelled out loud when this character came on was Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, I was not expecting that whatsoever.
I was not expecting that whatsoever. And I was like, shut up! It's Martian Manhunter! I was all excited. I love Martian Manhunter. I love the way that they're portraying him on Supergirl on the CW. One of my favorite comics is him. They did a DC and Looney Tunes crossover, and so it was him and Marvin the Martian, and I totally love Marvin the Martian. So, but yeah, Martian Manhunter gets a couple of good looks in this epic, and so I was like, oh man, they could have done like a They could have done like a Martian Manhunter movie off of it. Like they really could have spun a bunch of stuff.
But we didn't see much of him.
More, I mean, number one, he wasn't expected, but number two, we saw a lot more of him than we did of Green Lantern.
Yeah, we did.
I think the only thing we were really missing was Shazam. Because Shazam comes in and helps the Justice League every once in a while, yes? Doesn't he? Yeah. So we didn't see him kind of... but that movie did so well on its own.
But he's just a kid, though.
He is just a little child.
Yeah.
But I could have just... it was just a shame that they butchered this. Because with the 4-hour epic, you could see much potential.
Yeah, and it makes me imagine what would have happened if they just waited and had him finish the movie to begin with. What type of movie would that have been?
Well, do you remember? I don't even remember why he got
It would probably have been 2 movies.
Why did he get replaced?
He had family issues.
Yeah.
He had a family issue, that's right. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so why not wait?
Because
they wanted them. They had sunk enough money into
Let's
it.
see. How many Marvel movies have come out? How many DC movies have come out? Finish the DC movie.
Yeah.
I know, but it made a difference. It really made a difference, and I think they could have really springboarded it. And I feel like it's really a shame that Ben Affleck doesn't want to return to be Batman. I mean, I've heard some inklings that maybe he will. I really hope he does. And I really hope people, after seeing this, realize that he's a very good Batman and Bruce Wayne. He's a very good Batman and Bruce Wayne. He does both really well.
More so than, what's his name, Robert Pattinson.
Yeah. Well, the suits that Warner Brothers don't want to be tinkering around with anything else. But since AT&T is footing the bill for all this, because they're the ones behind everything and they basically own Warner Brothers now, they've basically said, we want some of this more stuff.
Yeah.
We want another Batman movie.
Well, yeah, and
With
trying
Ben.
to get Henry Cavill, too. I've heard some rumors that maybe Cavill would come back and do it. I think especially some of them are changing their minds after all of this COVID stuff. They've had such a long break, right? That now they're kind of like, maybe I could get back to acting. That's the doorbell.
Is that, let me check.
Is that the AC?
Better not be.
People? So our air conditioning hasn't been working, and we've been desperately trying to get it fixed. Do you want to send him in here to me if it is? I don't see an air conditioning truck.
Can you check it out there?
Okay, hold on. You're just going to see nothing real quick. No, I don't see an air conditioning truck. It's just a salesman or something. Anakin, oh my goodness, honey. Come here. Oh my goodness. Come here. Come here. Oh my goodness. Oh, I know.
We need to put we're taping
Yeah.
on here. Leave us alone.
Oh, you tell him. Oh my goodness. So all you can hear is Anakin barking now, but if you have not watched this 4-hour epic, you watch it a little bit at a time. Watch the chapters if you need to like chunk it up if you don't have 4 hours. I know you people are binge watching stuff for 18 hours a day.
Yeah.
So you can watch a 4-hour epic. Don't even pretend. If you haven't watched it, it's a completely different movie.
Yeah.
It will connect you to the DC universe in the way that the Marvel movies have connected you to the Marvel universe.
Easily.
Okay, he's upset. It's okay. It's okay. He gets really upset. He's very territorial. Remember, he's still new to us, so it's okay.
So we definitely, like Colleen said, definitely need to check that out. Again.
We're gonna watch it again. Actually, it was that good that we're gonna actually watch it again. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
It's probably gonna be our Easter.
I would have loved to see this in the theater.
It's okay. Yeah, I wish they would put it in the theater. I'd go watch it in the theater. Maybe with an intermission so we can have potty time.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But just to see it on the big screen, that would be awesome.
I think they will.
You think they will?
I think they will.
I think because so many of these movies have not been returning what the companies were hoping they would just by going to the streaming services, I think that they're going to start releasing more and more of them back into the theaters, especially now that we're a little bit safer. More and more of us are getting our second doses of the vaccine, and it's okay. So I'm definitely down. I guess if we have to, maybe we could see about renting the theater out, and maybe we'll take a bunch of the Geek Out SA people and we'll go watch it. Who wants to come watch a 4-hour epic with us? Huh?
I do.
I do.
So yes, that was awesome. If you haven't clicked on the subscribe button, click on the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so the next time we go live, you'll know. But thanks for checking us out. I'm Vince.
I'm Colleen, and that's Stuart.
Geek Out SA.